episode of Inside the Mastermind. Uh, my name is Darrell, and I
And
have with
I'm
me
Greg.
Greg. And just for this episode, I want to ask, do you ever see wild birds flying around and think, that bird has more money than me? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're looking to talk about finances and specifically debt there. And I guess the best story I think, and Greg, you can chip in on this, but the story I think as far as debt goes is just don't get into it. I have not been that fortunate, but if you can avoid it, don't get into it. Any thoughts on that, Greg?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that because for a lot of people, it's very hard for them to actually think about debt and even getting out of it because when we have credit cards and all this credit to our disposal, you can just swipe a card anywhere and get a product. People don't really think about that. That adds up very fast in a short amount of time, short period of time.
You're absolutely right, and I personally have as a kind of a story about that whole experience there about I don't know 10, 15 years ago or so. Well, let's just say I was pretty young, pretty inexperienced. I just moved to the Chicagoland area, and I had a roommate from school, and I didn't really have that much furniture right out of school. So I kind of just like slept on a cot. And I remember one day, my roommate, we kind of didn't, we thought we would get along, but we ended up not getting along too well. And I think one day he just came to me and just said like, well, like, why do you even have that room and stuff? Like, there's just all you have is that cot that you're sleeping on. I was literally sleeping on a cot. I didn't think any big deal about it. So I decided to go out, show him I had a like credit card that had what at the time like a $5,000 limit on it, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy a new bed, and I spent like $1,000, like a fifth of the credit limit um, on that bed, and never really paid it down. And a couple of years later, that debt had risen to about $16,000 or so. And eventually I did get out of debt. It was due to like getting into finance blogs, learning lot more about kind of debt financial services. And when I actually got into the financial services industry right after that. And Dave Ramsey, all I can say is praise for Dave Ramsey. But I guess one the key is try not to get into it in the first place, and then you're ahead of the game. But Greg, anything you'd like to share about that or your
Yeah.
own
So
experience?
when I was 18, I received my first credit card, and it had a limit of $300 on it. And people ask me today, like, how did you learn about finances? And honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I don't remember learning about it in school or being taught by my parents. But I had a $300 limit on a credit card, and I just knew that, hey, if I swipe this card, I need to pay this money back immediately, so I don't have to pay an interest rate. Because let's say if I go back buy a McDonald's meal for $5, if I don't pay that off right away, I'm going to owe like $6 or $7 or something like that on there. So whatever I would spend on there, I would pay off immediately. I only use my card for the amount of money I had in my bank account. So if I had $300, I'm only going to swipe it for 300. If I only had $100, I'm only going to swipe it for $100. And then eventually, like, the bank will start to send me more notifications like, hey, you're really good with credit. We're going to increase this to $500. Hey, we're going to increase this to $1,000. Hey, we're going to increase this to $15,000. And for me, I was like, man, they really want me to get into debt, tempting me with all this extra money. But I knew it just wasn't my money. So I didn't really have that urge to do that. So, but it again, obviously, with life and with what you're taught, I did actually get into debt with college loans and my car, and I think maybe another bill. But I did eventually get out of that because I just managed my finances very well. Paid off my car, paid off my college bill. But I still do have a mortgage on my house and another little small bill that I just accumulated recently. But that one's, again, with my budgeting, going to have it pay it off pretty quickly. But yeah, that's just my experience with debt. So I don't have a lot of personal, being like well, besides my mortgage, yeah, that is, tens of thousands. Well, yeah, a little bit of money, but I plan on trying to pay that off within a few years, just with accumulating other assets and residual incomes from various vehicles.
Awesome, man. I think kind of the key in order to get out of debt is, or just keep yourself out of debt in the first place, is having a budget, right? Just having a budget set aside. You know how much money you are bringing in on a regular basis, and you know how much money that how many expenses that you have on a regular basis as well. So I think that's kind of the absolute key as far as that goes. What do you think about that, Greg, as far as kind of what has kept you kind of financially sound? Or do you have a budget that you have in place?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, for me, it's keep myself on a budget, and also making sure I would manually actually write out my expenses. I will keep just a regular little notepad. See if I get paid $100. I'll write down, okay, this is what I have currently, $100, and then start minusing my bills from that. So at the end of the month, I say I only have $20 left. Okay, this is my positive cash flow that I have. So I know I can either keep this to try and either hold it, put it in a savings account, or I can do whatever I want with this because this is extra money left over after I pay all my bills. But yeah, keep myself on a strict budget. And I would literally manually I keep all my receipts as far as when I swipe my credit card. I do see some people that they say they don't want a receipt, but I do actually take the paper receipt. And then at the end of each month, I would go to my credit card statement, add up my receipts to make sure they match up, and then, pay that. And then from there, I'll discard the receipts or shred them. But yeah, keep it on the strict budget, keep it in an Excel sheet with all my bills labeled on there, each bill I have, the amount it is, and for each month. So when I would just highlight it at green, like each time I pay the bill, I highlight it green or paid, just so I can keep track of which bills I'm paying. Because it could get overwhelming, or you can't forget to pay a bill or two if you have, more than like 2-3 bills every month.
No, and I totally agree. I think there's actually software that out there for the people who are not as disciplined. There, you might be. I struggle with the discipline. I go like batches where I'm very disciplined, and like a couple months where like I'm not that disciplined about it. But a lot of banks right now, anyway. Like if you kind of are logging into your bank account online, they kind of have a breakdown. I know my bank, my credit union does have a breakdown of like here's where you're spending kind of most of your money and stuff, and like here's where you could try and make some adjustments, or you could at least see a breakdown of like, hey, all my money is going to like eating out, or like a lot of my money is going towards like movies or something like that, where you could probably put a little bit more of that towards investment and that type of thing. And then I guess another thing just to keep in mind, especially if you're trying to be debt free and maintain that step of being debt free, is just kind of know your net worth, and be aware of that on a monthly basis. Some people are some people know their net worth on a daily basis. I think some billionaires probably know it on a minute by minute basis. They're tracking the stock market to kind of see what's going on. But I think that's an important tool. There are tools out there that can help you definitely keep track of that in the future. Any comments on that, Greg? Or
Oh yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you, Rika. Yeah, you do have to know your net worth, and net worth is different than gross worth. A lot of people don't know the difference. So gross worth, for the people who don't really understand that, is pretty much the money you get prior to taxes. So, typically if you are a W-2 employee, you have a gross worth, so let's say $1,000, but then you take home, let's say $600. The $600 is your net worth, so it's after taxes. And then for me, even I go a little further from there, is take that 600 and then minus all your bills, and then what you have left over is the net worth. So after everything is paid for the month, what do you have? Do you have a positive cash flow? Is it negative, which is bad? But yeah, so like knowing your net worth as far as after everything is paid, what you have left over each month is then that's what you can allocate to either savings or paying off your debt if you have it. Just being very disciplined, like you stated earlier, Darrell, because you got to be very focused and you got to really want to have a better situation in life. And it takes discipline and time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of mainly what we wanted to talk about in this episode of Inside the Mastermind today. I do kind of have a challenge to the audience there. I'll just go ahead and throw this out here. So if you're taking a look at this video, if you kind of find this interesting, go ahead and subscribe, of course. But one thing you could do this week is calculate your net worth and then share how many months you can live off that net worth if you lost all your income tomorrow. So that's just a homework assignment. You don't have to really share in the comments if you want to, but maybe you could share like, hey, I have a couple months that's available, or hey, I have a couple of years that would be available if I take that into account. Kind of go from there. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode at this point. You might have heard that little thing, or anything else you'd like to add, Greg? Or
no, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just have the audience put a comment below as far as what is your net worth. Again, you don't have to give us details of your bank account and all that information. Just, hey, do you have, like I said, 1-2 months left over, a couple $100s? If you want to put a dollar amount, you can. But just, it's a good exercise just so you can start to visually see because you can, if we don't think about certain things, something's not going to happen. So if you don't think about having a positive cash flow, having every bill paid, then it probably won't happen. So this would be a good exercise to at least get the gears turning and to plant those seeds that we're trying to plant out there to help people live better lives.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, if you need more motivational, inspirational, or motivation or inspiration, go ahead and check out Greg's blog, plantthingsin.com, and healthy products. He has healthy products there to assist your journey in the positive lifestyle. And put your email below. We'll have a link to that site here once we're done with the show notes. And go ahead and take a look at that, and kind of go from there. So
yeah, and also if you want, because also Darrell's looking for more mastermind ideas and mastermind people to actually help with this, to launch and to gain our mastermind group as well. So yeah, contact Darrell there. The link is in the description below. So you can actually, if you want to become part of a mastermind and you are either an entrepreneur on the same journey, definitely connect with Darrell.
All right. Thank you for that, Greg. And finally, did you want to share a quote, or I could share a quote real quick? It's up to you.
You know what? Because I'm not at my computer, I typically would have like the notes there.
I'll go ahead and share a quote then. So the quote of the day is, a man who never has enough money to pay his debts has too much of something else. That's from James Lindahl Basford. So yeah, that's basically Inside the Mastermind for today. Thank you so much for taking a gander at us. And if you like what you saw, go ahead and share this out, subscribe. If you don't like what you saw, give us some feedback, hopefully directly there, so we can correct it and go forward from there. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and stop here today. All right. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.